Across wide and open regions of the Earth, deserts extend in quiet and expansive forms. These landscapes are often defined by their dryness, yet they are far from empty. Instead, they hold a subtle complexity shaped by light, wind, and time. The surface may appear still at first glance, but closer observation reveals a steady presence of movement and change. Deserts are found in many parts of the world, each with its own character. Some are covered in vast stretches of sand, while others are formed of rock, gravel, or compacted earth. Despite these differences, they share a common quality of limited moisture, where water is scarce and arrives only occasionally. This absence of frequent rainfall allows other natural processes to become more visible. The sky above desert landscapes often feels open and uninterrupted. Sunlight moves slowly across the land, creating soft shifts in color and shadow. During the day, the light can be bright and steady, while evenings bring a gradual cooling and a change in tone. These transitions happen without urgency, forming a gentle rhythm that repeats over time. The ground itself carries the marks of long-term change. Fine grains of sand settle into patterns, while larger surfaces remain shaped by earlier forces. Even in stillness, there is a sense that the landscape is slowly evolving, guided by elements that act over extended periods. Sound in the desert is often minimal. Wind may pass across the surface, creating faint movement among the sand or across open ground. At other times, the air remains quiet, allowing the environment to feel calm and undisturbed. Though deserts may seem simple from a distance, they are formed through layers of interaction between climate, geology, and time. Each part of the landscape contributes to a broader system that continues to develop gradually. In this way, deserts offer a quiet introduction to natural processes that unfold slowly, revealing patterns that are shaped not by sudden change, but by steady and continuous movement. Deserts are often defined by one consistent characteristic: a very low amount of rainfall over long periods of time. This limited presence of water shapes nearly every aspect of the environment, influencing how the land appears and how natural processes unfold. Instead of frequent storms or steady moisture, deserts experience long stretches of dryness, where change occurs gradually. Rainfall in desert regions is not only scarce, but also unpredictable. Some areas may receive brief periods of rain, followed by extended dry intervals. When water does arrive, it is often absorbed quickly into the ground or evaporates under the steady warmth of the sun. This creates a landscape where water is present only in short moments, yet leaves lasting effects. Temperature in desert climates can vary in a slow but noticeable rhythm. During the day, sunlight warms the surface steadily, sometimes reaching high levels. As evening approaches, the heat gradually dissipates into the open air, allowing temperatures to drop. This daily cycle repeats with quiet consistency, shaped by the clear sky and minimal cloud cover. The lack of moisture also influences the air itself. Without frequent humidity, the atmosphere remains dry and clear, allowing light to travel easily. This clarity contributes to the distinct appearance of desert landscapes, where distant features remain visible across long stretches of land. Over time, these conditions create a stable yet delicate balance. The land adapts to dryness, and processes such as wind movement and temperature change become more visible. Without frequent rain to alter the surface, patterns formed by these forces remain in place for longer periods. Seasonal changes do occur, though they are often subtle. Shifts in temperature and occasional rainfall create variations that unfold slowly, without abrupt transitions. These gradual changes allow the environment to maintain its steady rhythm. In this way, desert climates are defined not only by what is present, but by what is limited. The absence of frequent water creates space for other processes to shape the land, resulting in an environment that evolves quietly over time. Before sand gathers into dunes, it begins as solid rock, slowly changing over long periods of time. This transformation does not happen quickly. Instead, it unfolds through steady exposure to natural forces such as temperature, wind, and occasional moisture. Over many years, these forces break larger surfaces into smaller pieces, gradually forming the fine grains that make up desert sand. One of the main processes involved is weathering. During the day, rocks absorb heat from the sun and expand slightly. As temperatures drop at night, they cool and contract. This repeated cycle of expansion and contraction creates small stresses within the rock. Over time, these stresses lead to tiny fractures, which slowly grow larger. Wind also plays a quiet role in this process. Fine particles carried through the air gently strike exposed surfaces, wearing them down in a gradual and consistent way. This movement is subtle, but over long periods, it contributes to the smoothing and breaking apart of rock. In some regions, moisture adds another layer to this transformation. When small amounts of water enter cracks in rock, they can later evaporate or freeze, depending on conditions. These changes create additional pressure within the surface, encouraging further breakdown. Even though water is limited in deserts, its occasional presence still contributes to long-term change. As rock fragments become smaller, they continue to shift and settle. Larger pieces break into gravel, and gravel eventually becomes sand. Each stage reflects a gradual transition rather than a sudden shift. The resulting grains vary in size and shape, often rounded through repeated movement. The color of desert sand can also reflect its origin. Minerals within the rock influence whether the sand appears light, reddish, or golden in tone. These colors remain consistent across wide areas, adding to the visual character of the landscape. In this way, sand is not a separate material, but the result of continuous transformation. It carries the history of the rock from which it formed, shaped by time and the steady influence of natural forces. Wind moves quietly across desert landscapes, shaping the surface in ways that are gradual and continuous. Though often invisible, its presence can be observed through the patterns it leaves behind. Over time, wind becomes one of the most important forces in guiding how sand is arranged and how dunes begin to form. As air travels across open ground, it carries small grains of sand with it. These grains move in short, gentle motions, lifted slightly before settling again. This repeated movement is steady rather than sudden, creating a slow flow of material across the surface. Each grain may travel only a short distance at a time, but together, they shift the landscape over long periods. When sand grains encounter obstacles, such as rocks or slight changes in elevation, they begin to collect. These small accumulations mark the earliest stages of dune formation. The wind continues to move across these areas, adding more material and gradually shaping the growing forms. The direction of the wind plays a key role in this process. Consistent winds tend to move sand in predictable ways, creating patterns that repeat across the landscape. When the wind changes direction, the movement of sand adjusts accordingly, forming more complex shapes. Even in stronger winds, the process remains measured. Sand does not move as a continuous stream, but in countless small motions, each one contributing to the larger pattern. The surface responds slowly, with ridges and curves forming through repeated interaction. The sound of wind in the desert is often soft, passing over the ground without interruption. At times, it may lift fine particles into the air, creating a faint haze that settles again when the air becomes still. These changes happen without urgency, blending into the overall rhythm of the environment. Over time, the influence of wind becomes clearly visible. Smooth surfaces, gentle slopes, and repeating patterns all reflect its steady action. The landscape becomes a record of movement, shaped not by sudden force, but by continuous and patient change. In this way, wind serves as a quiet guide within desert environments, shaping the land through small and consistent movements that unfold across long stretches of time. Across desert regions, sand gathers into a variety of forms known as dunes. These shapes are not random, but reflect the steady interaction between wind direction, sand supply, and the surface beneath. Over time, dunes develop into recognizable patterns, each with its own structure and gentle symmetry. One of the most common forms is the crescent-shaped dune, often referred to as a barcan. These dunes have a curved front that faces the direction of the wind, with two extended arms that trail behind. The slope on the windward side rises gradually, while the opposite side descends more steeply, creating a soft contrast in form. In areas where wind direction remains consistent over long periods, linear dunes may form. These extend in long, narrow ridges that run parallel to the prevailing wind. Their surfaces appear smooth and continuous, stretching across the landscape in quiet repetition. In contrast, regions with shifting wind directions often give rise to star dunes. These dunes develop multiple ridges that radiate outward, forming more complex shapes. Despite their appearance, they still follow the same steady processes of accumulation and movement. Each dune is shaped by the way sand is carried and deposited. As grains move up the gentle slope, they eventually reach a point where they settle and slide down the steeper side. This ongoing cycle maintains the dune's form, allowing it to remain stable while slowly changing. The size of dunes can vary widely. Some are small and subtle, while others rise to significant heights, creating broad, sweeping curves across the land. Regardless of scale, their structure remains guided by the same natural forces. Light plays an important role in revealing these forms. As sunlight moves across the surface, it highlights the smooth curves and soft edges, creating patterns of shadow and brightness that shift gradually throughout the day. In this way, sand dunes represent a balance between movement and stability, where simple forces combine to create forms that are both structured and continuously evolving. Sand dunes are not fixed in place, even though they may appear still from a distance. Over time, they move gradually across the desert landscape, guided by the steady influence of wind. This movement is slow and continuous, unfolding through countless small shifts rather than sudden changes. As wind carries sand grains up the gentle slope of a dune, the particles travel toward the crest. When they reach the top, they settle and begin to slide down the steeper side, known as the slip face. This process repeats over and over, allowing the dune to maintain its shape while gradually shifting forward. Each grain moves only a short distance at a time, yet together they create a steady flow. The front edge of the dune advances slowly, while the back edge adjusts in response. This creates the appearance of a moving form, even though the individual movements are subtle. The speed at which a dune travels depends on several factors. Smaller dunes tend to move more quickly, as they require less material to shift their shape. Larger dunes, with greater mass, move at a much slower pace. Wind strength and consistency also play a role, influencing how frequently sand is lifted and transported. The surface beneath the dune can affect its movement as well. Smooth, open ground allows sand to travel more easily, while rough or vegetated areas may slow the process. In some cases, dunes may change direction slightly as they respond to variations in the landscape. Despite this ongoing movement, dunes often retain their overall structure. The balance between the windward slope and the slip face remains steady, giving each dune a recognizable form over time. From a distance, this motion is almost imperceptible. Days, months, and even years may pass before noticeable changes occur. Yet the process continues without interruption, guided by the same consistent forces. In this way, sand dunes represent a quiet form of motion within the desert, where change is constant but unfolds at a pace that reflects the slow rhythm of the environment. Across the surface of deserts, subtle patterns and textures form through the steady interaction of wind and sand. These features often appear as fine ripples, small ridges, or gently compacted surfaces, each shaped by repeated movement over time. Though delicate in appearance, they reflect ongoing processes that continue without interruption. One of the most common patterns is the formation of ripples. These are small, evenly spaced ridges that develop as wind moves sand grains across the ground. As particles are lifted and settle again, they gather into lines that follow the direction of airflow. The distance between each ripple remains relatively consistent, creating a sense of quiet order across the surface. The size of these ripples can vary depending on the strength of the wind and the size of the sand grains. Finer grains tend to form smaller, more closely spaced patterns, while coarser material creates broader ridges. Despite these differences, the overall structure remains balanced and uniform. In some areas, the surface becomes more compacted, forming what is known as a desert crust. This occurs when particles settle closely together, sometimes held in place by slight moisture or mineral deposits. These crusts create a smoother appearance, with fewer visible ripples, and can remain stable for extended periods. Wind continues to interact with these surfaces, even when changes are not immediately visible. Over time, patterns may shift slightly, with new ripples forming while older ones fade. This gradual renewal maintains the overall texture of the landscape. Light plays a gentle role in revealing these features. As sunlight moves across the surface, it highlights the ridges and shallow valleys, creating soft contrasts that change throughout the day. Shadows settle into the low areas, while raised edges catch the light. These patterns are often temporary, lasting only until the next shift in wind or movement of sand. Yet they are constantly replaced, creating a continuous cycle of formation and change. In this way, the surface of the desert becomes a quiet record of movement, shaped by the steady and repeating influence of wind and sediment. Light and temperature in desert environments follow a steady and predictable rhythm, shaped by the openness of the landscape and the clarity of the air. Without dense cloud cover, sunlight reaches the surface directly during the day, gradually warming the ground and the air above it. This warming process happens slowly, building over the course of several hours. As the sun lowers, the heat begins to fade. The desert does not retain warmth in the same way as more humid environments. Instead, heat escapes into the open sky, allowing temperatures to decrease steadily through the evening. By night, the air often becomes cool, creating a noticeable contrast with the warmth of the day. These transitions between light and temperature are not abrupt. They unfold gradually, creating a gentle cycle that repeats each day. Early morning begins with soft, low light that spreads slowly across the land. Shadows remain long and subtle, and the surface appears calm and undisturbed. During midday, light becomes stronger, but it still moves in a consistent pattern. Surfaces warm evenly, and the landscape maintains its quiet stillness. As the afternoon passes, the angle of the light shifts again, softening its intensity and preparing for the gradual cooling of evening. At night, the desert often feels more still. With little moisture in the air, the sky can appear clear and open. Moonlight may cast a soft glow across the sand, revealing gentle shapes and faint patterns without strong contrast. The landscape becomes quieter in appearance, with details softened by low light. Temperature changes also influence how the surface behaves. Cooler conditions allow sand to settle more firmly, while warmer periods may make it more responsive to movement. These subtle shifts continue without interruption, guided by the cycle of light and dark. In this way, light and temperature create a steady rhythm within the desert, shaping both the appearance and behavior of the landscape in a calm and continuous pattern. Water is present in desert environments in a limited and often subtle way. Although rainfall is rare, it still plays an important role in shaping the landscape and supporting life. When water does arrive, it tends to appear briefly, moving across the surface before gradually fading or settling into the ground. Rain in desert regions often falls in short, gentle events rather than long-lasting periods. The dry surface absorbs moisture quickly, and some of the water may collect in shallow depressions, forming temporary pools. These pools remain only for a short time, yet they provide a momentary shift in the environment. In certain areas, water can also exist below the surface. Underground layers may hold small amounts of moisture, creating conditions where plant life can take root. These hidden sources are not always visible, but they contribute quietly to the overall balance of the ecosystem. Occasionally, water moves across the land in narrow channels known as dry riverbeds. For most of the time, these channels remain empty, appearing as smooth, winding paths through the desert. After rainfall, they may briefly carry water, guiding its flow before it disperses again. The presence of water, even in small amounts, influences how the land forms. It can help settle sand, shape the edges of dunes, and contribute to the formation of compacted surfaces. Over long periods, these effects become part of the landscape structure. Evaporation also plays a steady role. Under the warmth of the sun, water gradually returns to the air, leaving behind minerals that may remain on the surface. This process happens quietly, without visible movement, yet continues as part of the natural cycle. Despite its limited presence, water connects different elements of the desert environment. It supports plant growth, influences soil conditions, and interacts with wind and temperature. In this way, water remains a quiet but essential part of desert systems, appearing briefly yet contributing to processes that unfold slowly and continuously over time. Plant life in desert environments exists in a quiet and carefully balanced way. With limited water available, plants have adapted to survive through slow and efficient processes. These adaptations allow them to remain present in landscapes where conditions might otherwise seem too dry to support growth. Many desert plants grow at a measured pace, conserving energy and resources. Instead of rapid expansion, they focus on maintaining stability over long periods. Leaves are often small or shaped in ways that reduce water loss. Some plants store moisture within their stems or roots, holding it for extended use during dry conditions. Roots play an important role in this process. In some plants, roots extend deep into the ground, reaching hidden sources of moisture beneath the surface. In others, roots spread widely just below the soil, allowing them to absorb water quickly when rainfall occurs. These different approaches reflect the varied ways plants adapt to their environment. The surface of desert plants is often designed to limit evaporation. Waxy coatings or fine textures help reduce the amount of water that escapes into the air. These features work continuously, supporting the plant's ability to retain moisture over time. Growth is often tied to the rare presence of water. After rainfall, plants may respond slowly, absorbing moisture and supporting new development. This process does not happen all at once, but unfolds gradually as conditions allow. Spacing between plants is also influenced by the environment. Rather than growing close together, many desert plants are spread across the landscape. This distance reduces competition for limited resources, allowing each plant to function within its own space. Light and temperature continue to shape these patterns. Plants respond to the steady cycle of day and night, adjusting their processes in subtle ways. Some remain more active during cooler periods, while others maintain a consistent rhythm. In this way, desert plant life reflects a quiet form of adaptation, where survival is guided by efficiency, patience, and a steady response to the surrounding environment. Animal life in desert environments follows patterns that are shaped by heat, dryness, and the steady rhythm of day and night. Rather than constant activity, many animals move in measured and carefully timed ways, adjusting their behavior to the surrounding conditions. In warmer periods, especially during the day, activity is often reduced. The heat of the sun can make movement more demanding, so many animals remain still or seek shelter. Some rest beneath the surface, where the ground provides a cooler and more stable environment. Others find shade among rocks or sparse vegetation, conserving energy until conditions become more favorable. As light begins to soften and temperatures gradually decrease, movement becomes more noticeable. Early morning and evening provide calmer conditions, allowing animals to travel, search for food, and interact with their surroundings. These periods offer a balance between visibility and comfort, supporting steady activity without urgency. At night, The desert often becomes more active in a quiet and subtle way. Cooler air allows for longer periods of movement, and the softer light creates a more gentle environment. Animals move carefully across the surface, leaving faint tracks that may remain visible until the wind reshapes the ground. Adaptation to limited water is also important. Many desert animals obtain moisture from the food they consume, reducing the need for direct water sources. This approach allows them to remain active even in areas where water is rarely visible. Movement across the landscape is often deliberate and efficient. Animals tend to follow familiar paths, guided by terrain and the location of resources. These routes may change slowly over time, reflecting subtle shifts in the environment. The presence of animals adds another layer to the desert system, though it remains quiet and balanced. Interactions are often brief and understated, blending into the overall rhythm of the landscape. In this way, desert animal life reflects a calm and adaptive approach, where behavior is shaped by the steady patterns of temperature, light, and the availability of resources. Desert landscapes are shaped not only by present conditions, but by long stretches of time that extend far beyond immediate observation. Change within these environments unfolds slowly, guided by processes that continue steadily across years, centuries, and even longer periods. The formation of deserts often begins with shifts in climate. Over time, regions may receive less rainfall, allowing dryness to become more established. Vegetation gradually reduces, and exposed surfaces become more responsive to wind and temperature. These transitions do not occur suddenly, but develop through gradual adjustments in the environment. As dryness becomes more consistent, the surface begins to change. Rock breaks down into smaller particles, and sand becomes more widespread. Wind carries these materials across open areas, forming patterns and structures that continue to evolve. Each movement is small, yet together they contribute to long-term transformation. Dunes themselves reflect this extended timescale. While they move slowly across the land, their presence can remain for many years. Some dunes grow larger as they collect more sand, while others may shift or disperse depending on changing conditions. These changes are continuous, yet rarely noticeable in the short term. Temperature cycles also contribute to long-term development. Repeated heating and cooling gradually influence the structure of rock and soil. Over time, these cycles support the ongoing process of weathering, adding to the supply of sediment that shapes the landscape. Even the rare presence of water plays a role in these extended changes. Occasional rainfall can alter surfaces, form temporary channels, and redistribute material. Though brief, these moments become part of a larger pattern when viewed over long periods. The overall appearance of a desert at any given moment reflects a balance between these many processes. Nothing remains entirely still, yet change is measured and continuous. In this way, deserts can be understood as environments shaped by time itself, where each element contributes quietly to a landscape that evolves gradually and without interruption. Wind in desert environments does not move in a constant or uniform way. Instead, it follows patterns that shift gradually over time, influenced by changes in temperature, pressure, and the movement of air across large regions. These variations create seasonal rhythms that shape how sand is carried and where it settles. During certain periods, wind may travel in a steady direction for extended lengths of time. This consistency allows dunes to form with clear and simple shapes, as sand is moved along predictable paths. Over weeks or months, these winds contribute to the gradual growth and movement of dunes, reinforcing their structure. At other times, wind patterns may become more variable. Shifts in direction can occur slowly, altering the way sand is transported across the landscape. These changes do not happen suddenly, but develop over time as atmospheric conditions adjust. The result is a more complex arrangement of dunes, where multiple directions of movement are recorded in their form. Seasonal temperature differences between land and surrounding regions can also influence wind behavior. As surfaces warm and cool at different rates, air begins to move gently between areas, creating currents that pass across the desert. These movements remain subtle, yet they contribute to the ongoing shaping of the terrain. The strength of the wind can vary as well. There are periods of calm, where the surface remains mostly undisturbed, followed by times when movement becomes slightly more active. Even then, the process remains gradual, with sand shifting in small increments rather than large sudden changes. Over long periods, these seasonal patterns leave a quiet imprint on the desert. The orientation of dunes, the spacing of ripples, and the distribution of sand all reflect the history of wind movement across the area. Despite these variations, the overall rhythm remains steady. Wind continues to act as a guiding force, shaping the landscape through repeated and consistent motion. In this way, seasonal wind patterns contribute to a dynamic yet balanced system, where change occurs slowly and the landscape responds in a calm and continuous manner. Human presence in desert environments has developed gradually, shaped by the same conditions that influence the land itself. Rather than altering the landscape quickly, people have often adapted their ways of living to align with the steady rhythms of dryness, temperature, and limited resources. Settlements in desert regions are typically positioned near reliable sources of water. These may include underground reserves, seasonal streams, or areas where moisture gathers naturally. Around these points, small communities form, with structures built using materials available in the surrounding environment. Earth, stone, and simple natural elements are used to create spaces that provide shelter and stability. Daily life within these environments follows a measured pace. Activities are often arranged around the cooler parts of the day, such as early morning or evening. During warmer periods, movement slows, and attention shifts toward rest and conservation of energy. This rhythm reflects a close awareness of temperature and light. Travel across desert landscapes is approached with care and preparation. Routes often follow familiar paths that have been used over long periods. These paths may align with natural features such as valleys or firm ground, allowing movement to remain steady and efficient. Journeys are planned with attention to distance and available resources, creating a calm and deliberate approach to travel. Materials and tools are used in ways that support long-term use. Items are maintained and reused, reflecting an understanding of limited availability. This approach contributes to a balanced relationship between people and their surroundings. The presence of human activity remains integrated within the broader landscape. Structures blend into the environment, and movement follows the natural contours of the land. There is a sense of continuity between human patterns and the processes already shaping the desert. Over time, these ways of living become part of the environment itself, adding another layer to its gradual development. In this way, human presence in desert regions reflects adaptation and balance, where daily life unfolds in quiet alignment with the steady conditions of the land. Sand dune systems exist in a quiet balance between stability and change. Although they are constantly shaped by wind and shifting sand, they often maintain a recognizable form over long periods. This balance is not fixed, but instead emerges from the steady interaction between movement and structure. Each dune holds a form that reflects the conditions around it. Wind direction, sand supply, and surface features all contribute to its shape. As long as these conditions remain relatively consistent, the dune continues to maintain its overall structure, even as individual grains move across its surface. At the same time, dunes are never completely still. Sand is continuously lifted, carried, and deposited in small amounts. These movements occur across the windward slope and down the slip face, allowing the dune to adjust gradually. The form remains familiar, but its position may shift slowly over time. When conditions begin to change, the response is also gradual. A shift in wind direction, a variation in sand supply, or the presence of vegetation can influence how a dune evolves. Rather than immediate transformation, the structure adjusts step by step, reflecting the new balance of forces. In some areas, groups of dunes interact with one another. Smaller dunes may move more quickly and merge with larger formations, while others may separate or reshape slightly as they travel. These interactions occur quietly, guided by the same consistent processes that shape individual dunes. The surface of a dune can also provide temporary stability. Moisture, even in small amounts, or slight compaction can hold sand in place for a time. This allows patterns and structures to remain visible before they are gradually altered again. Over extended periods, these processes create a system that is both dynamic and stable. Change is always present, yet it unfolds at a pace that maintains a sense of continuity. In this way, sand dune systems reflect a calm balance, where steady movement and lasting form exist together within the natural rhythm of the desert. Across desert landscapes, the passage of time can be understood through quiet and continuous change. Sand dunes rise and shift, surfaces form and reform, and patterns appear and fade, all within a steady and unhurried rhythm. These environments are shaped not by sudden events, but by processes that unfold gradually and without interruption. The movement of wind, the presence of light, and the limited arrival of water all contribute to this balance. Each element plays a role, interacting with the others in ways that remain consistent over long periods. Together, they create a system where change is constant, yet gentle in its expression. Deserts often appear still, especially when viewed from a distance. Yet within that stillness, there is ongoing activity at a smaller scale. Individual grains of sand shift position, subtle patterns form along the surface, and the contours of dunes adjust over time. These movements are quiet, yet they are always present. The cycle of day and night continues to guide the environment. Light softens and fades, temperatures rise and fall, and the landscape responds in subtle ways. These repeated patterns create a sense of continuity, where each moment connects naturally to the next. Plant and animal life, though limited in number, contribute to this ongoing balance. Their presence is integrated into the system, shaped by the same conditions that influence the land. Movement, growth, and rest all follow the steady rhythm of the desert. Human presence, when it occurs, often reflects a similar awareness. Paths follow natural contours, and activity aligns with the conditions of the environment. This connection reinforces the sense that the desert is not separate from those who move through it, but part of a shared system. In the end, deserts and sand dunes offer a view of nature at a slower pace. They reveal how landscapes can change continuously without losing their sense of calm. Through time, they remain steady in their presence, shaped by forces that act quietly and persistently. The result is an environment defined by balance, where movement and stillness exist together, creating a landscape that evolves gently, moment by moment.